Hi there and welcome to The Perspective. I'm Blaise Hope. And with me today is Christopher Briggs, formerly a captain in the British Army's Royal Gurkha Rifles. He saw operational service as a platoon commander and unit intelligence officer in Asia, West Africa and Europe before managing a private military services company, providing support to US and coalition forces in Iraq and Pakistan from 2003 to 2012. He tracked at close range the emergence of ISIS, the establishment of the de facto Kurdish state, and increasing influence of Iran in southern and central Iraq. He is a graduate in international relations from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy with an MBA from the University of London and a Masters of Research from the Instituto Empresa Madrid. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Blaise.
So where did Islamic State come from?
Islamic State of Iraq and Sham being a sort of ancient name for Syria. There are antecedents of it probably back in the 1990s when the message of global jihad was starting to spread out of Afghanistan to the wider Middle East. I've only really tracked it since 2003, however, when I was operational in the Mosul area in northern Iraq. And we started to see the emergence of a variety of what was called insurgent groups in post-Saddam Iraq. Specifically, I would take that insurgency from one date in the summer of 2003, when the coalition provisional authorities, who are the de facto US government in Iraq after the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, they disbanded the Iraqi military in a day. That effectively left in cities like Mosul tens of thousands of young, reasonably well trained, unpaid men with a grudge on the streets. These people immediately formed themselves into kind of insurgent cells. Some of these had a nationalist agenda, some of them kind of waved an Islamic flag and had a kind of jihadist agenda, while others were little more than criminal gangs. ISIS really emerged in this sort of tumult in northern Iraq during this 2003-2004 period. And what we saw was sort of professional jihadists, if you like, jihadists who'd been trained in Afghanistan, coming into Iraq, linking with the former Saddam era soldiers and forming resistant cells. Over the period 2005 to 2007, they gained increasing control in areas like Mosul in northern Iraq, Tikrit and Samarra in central Iraq, Ramadi, Fallujah in the west of Iraq. And with this control, they effectively set up parallel states. Well, in fact, not even parallel states. The Iraqi state itself did not really exist. There was a military occupation going on, but in terms of control of the actual society, these groups started really to take primacy. And in particular, Islamic State of Iraq set up a zone of Sharia law inside Mosul. So it was a de facto government. Contractors of mine, local contractors of mine, for example, from Mosul would have to pay tax to Islamic State groups, effectively a kind of extortion racket. Likewise, on certain roads, to enter certain areas, they'd have to pay tolls to these organizations. Increasingly, there was sweeping of streets and houses by these groups to check on un-Islamic activity, forcing women to wear headscarves, forcing men to attend prayers 5 times a day, checking on mosques to make sure the imams were preaching in line with their view of Islam. This all started to emerge in the 2006 to 2007 kind of period, this level of social control. Then, as the US presence began to decrease and the Iraqi government increased in strength, I'm looking here at the period of 2009, 2010, these groups started to take something of a back seat. Iraqi security forces started to appear on the streets, local government structures started being put back in place, providing basic services, electricity, water, health and the like. There seemed to be an improvement in Iraqi governance and with it a kind of disappearance of these groups onto the fringes of criminal activity. That very quickly deteriorated in 2013, 2014. A lot of this was due to, one, the internal politics of Iraq, effectively the Sunni minority who'd been the traditional rulers of the state and were prominent in Mosul, had a backlash against a new Shia majority government who they felt were effectively taking revenge for previous previous actions against them.
Well, let me just hold you there. We need to take a quick break and we'll go straight back into that. We'll be back right in a minute with a perspective.